Before we begin, thank you very much to Kamen Rider X-Aid for joining the Patreon campaign. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the contribution. Thank you. Nice to have the backing of a doctor. That is always appreciated. Yeah, if you'd like the channel to stick around, or if you just like to show some appreciation for daily free content, the Patreon link is in the description below. Even a buck or two helps me out tremendously. I thank you very much for that support. And it's the kind of thing that lets me do things like this. We are going to be doing another Q&A video. Normally I do these on the 1st of the month, but it's going to be April 1st, which means we have to do something different. And it's a Monday, which means the news roundup's going to have to be on Tuesday. And I didn't want to push the Q&A to Wednesday. So in order to get as close as possible, we got to do it right now. And as always, if you have a question you would want me to answer next month, then please leave a comment below. Remember the rules that are on screen right now. 1 question per person so everyone can have a turn. Quick answers only. Do not ask me to create entire storylines, toy lines on site, or make me try to remember through hundreds of different toys at once. All TOS, no profanity please. I will remove you. And if you're making just a comment on the video, please mark it as such so that we do not take up too much time. Because these are always like over an hour. Which, by the way, if you sit through the entire thing, you're one of the real ones. I thank you very much. So let us begin here. Storm Von Gola. I'm not going to try to pronounce every name. No, you are not too late, but don't reply to this top post. Just mark it as a normal comment so it doesn't get lost. Why do you stop using bits from scheduled conflicts as your outro for your vids? Number one, while I love my D&D campaign, and I love showing off funny moments from it, because there's a lot of them, I just don't have the time to go through a 3 or 4 hour VOD just to clip out 20 seconds. I just don't have that kind of time lately, so that's one reason. Number 2 is because we've started to post similar videos as YouTube shorts over on Gob the Goblin's channel, so you can check out little bits of scheduled conflicts that way. But also, you'll notice I'm teasing something new, and it's probably the biggest project I have ever undertaken. There's a lot of money invested, there are artists involved, there's musicians involved. It's hopefully going to be epic. Hopefully. But that's kind of taking my, like, cheeky advertisement space right now. So that's why. Let's see. Beryllian bologna or Cesian salami? Why not both? It makes for a better sandwich that way. If you had to choose a mythical creature alt mode for an Optimus to rival Dragon Megatron, what would you pick? I feel like every time I answer a mythical creature question, it's always Griffin, because it is my favorite mythical creature. But in this case, I do think it's the only appropriate one. It's one of the few things that could rival a dragon in ferocity, but it's also much more noble animal, like eagle and lion together, because you're not going to make Optimus a chimera. It's way too monstrous. There's probably something in either, Egyptian or, Norse mythology, potentially, that would suit it better. Even Mayan. I'm not as familiar with those as I am Greek, so you'll forgive me for my ignorance. Everyone seems to take for granted that Transformers will be ever increasingly cost-cut and more expensive in the coming years. What do you expect the toys to be like in 3, 5, 10 years? I've said it before, I really expect the range of articulation and the solidity of the toys we have now to start going away. I think that's where it's going to get budgeted next. I think things like ankle tilts are going to go away again, or more complex or little intricate points of articulation, like wrist swivels, for instance. I wouldn't be surprised to see the return of ball joints. Rather than the universal hinges that they use now, so the toys can support the weight of the Weaponizer style toys. You notice in Generations Prime, we're not getting toys like that. At least it doesn't seem like we're going to get any gimmick toys like that. I could easily imagine that they're going to go back to ball joints starting next year, but that is just me guessing. Yeah, I feel like the next step down is complexity. I think we're going to lose complexity next. Who would you choose to voice Star Saber and Death Sorus? I'm not sure offhand. I'm not really great at voice actors these days. I'm not even great at normal actors these days, so I'm not sure who I would choose. Part of me really wants Keith David as Death Sorus. Part of me really wants that. But then again, I like when Keith David voices anything. Question, will a Chimera-style combiner team work? And not mythical creature, we've been there. I mean, each member of the team is a different something if they don't follow a specific theme. So, by a Chimera team, like, you're kind of like thinking like a mashup team. That's technically, okay, we've already had things like that. I mean, that's technically what the Technobots are. All the vehicles are completely different. You're a little bit more out there with, like, throwing a dinosaur in there. You're talking a little bit more closely to what we got for Nexus Prime. And again, you know, it's kind of a mongrel team made up of just random loose bits. No real cohesion. When you do that, I feel like the way to make it work is how Nexus Prime or Victorion handled it by giving everyone the same color scheme. So you could absolutely just do a combiner of whoever, but you have to have something that makes it look like they all go together. And if it's not going to be like a unified alt mode theme, then it's got to be a color scheme. So that's how you would have to do it. If Rail Racer could race rails, how many rails would Rail Racer race? One. They're bullet trains. They have one. Well, I guess I'm thinking monorail. No, they got two rails. They can race two rails. So you're not gonna jump rails. Let's see. Have you ever considered doing a Let's Fix video for the Align continuity to make it all fit together, or would that be too big of a project? There's a lot of mess to that continuity, but I feel a lot of it just kind of boils down to just change what Dark Energon is. I think that's like the biggest thing about that continuity that that throws the whole thing off is what is Dark Energon, you know, and make it much more consistent across all of those different medias. It is a big project because you're also talking about the novels, and I don't really have the time. You might have noticed from these Q&As, I don't have time to watch TV or movies. Do you think I have the time to sit down with a book? No. So that would be a lot of work for what would ultimately be a 20-minute video. I mean, it's possible, but again, lots of research to do. For Studio Series Concept Series, we'd like to see an 07 movie concept designs like the Chimera Bumblebee with the windshield chest. See, that wouldn't be a bad direction to go in. I do like that look better than what we finally settled on. You know, because it's not as like typical Autobot as, you know, like the front of the car as the chest. That would work. Yeah, like if they go and just start doing like crazy design, like crazy concepts from past movies, yeah, that definitely catch my interest. Let's see. A lot of your favorites or most wanted characters and concepts have been fulfilled with figures recently. Gotta ask questions or anything you want next. You do mention a Mantis Insecticon, which I would absolutely be down for. As far as characters that we need new versions of that I love, Beast Wars 2nd Galvatron. Still one of my favorite designs. It only has the one toy, and just about everyone else has been covered in some way, shape, or form. Even Big Convoy has gotten an encore reissue. It's really just that Galvatron that's left out in the wind. No reissue, no new figure, and it's an epic design that you could do a lot of fun repaints with. I want that. See, how do you think the animated Constructicons would adapt to living on Cybertron? I mean, it's Cybertron. There's always things that need to be rebuilt, so I'm sure they could find work. They would probably haunt McAdams. They would probably be there downing oil every chance they get. I don't even think they'd be interested in like being like traditional Constructicons and villainous. I think they would just put stuff back together and drink oil at McAdams. I think that's about all we're going to get. See, the original Combiner teams haven't had any major roles in modern media except in comics and video games. What are your thoughts on their declining representation and or the absence in Transformers TV series? Part of that comes down to the toy lines, where they really don't want to do combiners because of the design complexity it requires. They leave that to the collector lines that don't really need to be represented in media. Now, that said, we did have combiners taking a presence well, you talk about the original combiner teams. And in that, yes, you are correct. We have had combiners in media, in RID 2015 and in Cyberverse. But yeah, for the traditional ones, they've been left out. Part of that is, yeah, Hasbro doesn't want to do toys that complicated for their mainline, for their what they consider mainline. And another part of it is if you do combiners in a cartoon, now you're casting 5 characters, right? You know, now it's a matter of numbers. You know, and that's 5 characters you got to cast voices for and pay actors for. You also have to do all the models for all of it, and then you have to do the 6th model, which is the combine mode. It's a lot these days, especially when you're doing CG animation, to actually expect all of that. It's one reason why the Combiner Wars cartoon kind of just left them in combine mode. Because it's a lot of money to do all the individuals. Even Energon had that exact same situation with their combiners. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it just comes down to just basically just numbers and, you know, what else could you do that might be a little bit better. When is your next trip to Walt Disney World, and what did you skip that you wanted to see on the last trip? The last trip was to Hollywood Studios because I wanted to go to Galaxy's Edge so bad. I don't know when my next trip is going to be. You know, as soon as I can get away, I guess. But I think for I think like I'm trying to think of like what did I skip. I will be honest. I went to Hollywood Studios and spent almost all of that time in Star Wars Land because I could not get over how cool Star Wars Land was. Skip Toy Story. Skip the Toy Story world, which you'd think I would want to be surrounded by the toys. And the theme there is pretty cool, but also, if the day is sunny, it sucks to be there. Because there's no shade anywhere in that section of the park. And then, like, all the retro 1940s stuff, I wanted to get dinner there, like one of, like, the retro, like, drive-in diner type place. That's the kind of stuff I kind of missed out on. I kind of want to go back to Galaxy's Edge again just to build another lightsaber. So maybe I won't spend all day in Star Wars Land and I'll actually enjoy the rest of the park. What's your usual pint pleasure drink? Not necessarily alcoholic. I don't drink at all. Completely straight edge. So, I mean, my pleasure drink these days is, like, I will admit, I also kind of drop soda. You know, so water. Pretty much all I drink anymore. Every now and then I'll cheat and get a soda, usually a root beer if they've got it. I will admit, a lot of my, like, flavor drink these days comes from Gamer Sups. Partially because my friends are like partnered with them, so it kind of helps them while I get my like my sweet water stuff. They have a flavor called what was it? Snake oil. And it tastes like apple pie. Like it makes the water taste like apple juice, but it also has like a mild hit of spice to it, like a little bit of cinnamon kind of. It's really good. It's really good. Right now, that's my go-to. Which of the 13 primes and Primus would you think enjoy visiting and or living on Earth? That's a tough call. That's a tough call because we never really got to see the primes interact with Earthlings or with Earth in general. Based on Earthspark, I would probably say Quintus Prime. Maybe Micronus, because he's actually like the appropriate size for the planet. I think it'd be one of those two. What are your thoughts on Earthspark Tarantulas, especially as a Beast Wars fan? Well, funny you ask. I did an entire review series where I talked about every episode of Transformers Earthspark, and you can go listen to my thoughts on Tarantulas there. But as a nutshell version, I didn't expect to like a Tarantulas done in that style, but I really, really liked Earthspark Tarantulas. I felt bad for him. You make me feel bad for a Tarantulas. I didn't think that was possible. He's usually a psychopath. But no, like, he's kind of a sympathetic character. He just kind of wants to chill and just, like, live on Earth. Yeah. I mean, and he's a little bit bent, but not to any, like, insane degree. He's a really good character. Like, I'm really hoping to see him in Season 2. Do you ever see Hasbro going back to the Beast era? Not bringing back Beast Wars characters in Kingdom, but creating new cast and stories somewhere before or after Beast Wars or Machines? No. If they do another run of like, here's the thing. The familiarity of Transformers is what sells these days. And I don't just mean with kids who always want Bumblebee stuff and, you know, like adults who grew up with the past series who always want Optimus, Megatron, Starscreams. I mean the retailers themselves. They want to see those 4 names in the assortments that they buy. So if Hasbro's putting out a completely new set of animals that are just completely new characters, odds are retailers aren't going to take a huge interest in that. They're not going to have much faith in that. And also, yes, nostalgia is driving a lot of toy sales these days. You know, like the adult buyer is starting to become a larger part of the market as kids get less interested in toys. So you're never going to see us go completely back to Beasts. You're never going to see us go back to the Beast era at all. But you're also never going to see us just go back to playing Beasts. You're always going to see Optimus, Bumblebee, Starscream, Megatron. You're always going to see them. They're never going away. Every series is just going to have them. Just going to get used to it now. Yeah, like the age of experimenting is done. Hasbro relies way too much on nostalgia now, which is not bad. I'm not saying that's a bad strategy. It's a safe one. And sometimes in business, you have to take the safe route. In honor of the upcoming Nacelle-verse, what obscure toy lines franchise would you like to see a modern reboot of? For those that don't know, Nacelle is the company that bought RoboForce. Then they did like a brand new like Max Zero. You know, so they did, which is why we don't have RoboForce Glyos toys anymore, which sucks because they were my favorite ones. For me, because I was reminded of it recently, Jason the Wheeled Warrior, similar to Glyos, it's things that you could pop off and rebuild and put your own tires, put your own weapons on, and you could probably expand that play pattern so much more these days. But yeah, I thought those are fun toys. Build your own monster vehicles. What's, nothing bad about that. What is your take on amalgamated characters like Bulkhead or Shadow Striker from Legacy Evolution United? I'm genuinely not really a fan of that approach, because I don't know who it's for. I mean, it feels like kind of going back to the days of when repaints and retools of like characters are like homages to old characters, but they weren't quite that. That's kind of what it feels like. It feels like characters crammed into molds, but not really fitting the molds all that well. Yeah, so I'm kind of in that one. Like with Shadow Striker, I really like Cyberverse Shadow Striker. She's never had a toy that is just, a good representation of her design. This is also not a good representation of her design. It's just an excuse to put the mold out so it can be sideburn later on. That's bad. So, I would rather them just make the character. I'd rather just make the character. This half and half thing that they've been doing with some of these characters just does not appeal to me. Do you think Daniel ate or slept the whole time Transformers movie was happening? I mean, they've been around, the Autobots have been around Spike long enough. I'm sure there's provisions somewhere for the Earthlings. Sure, there's a lot going on, but that was at least 2 or 3 days. I don't think it was 2 or 3 days. I think by the time they left, Earth, and between leaving Earth and blowing up Unicron, I think that could have all been one big day. I think, because we never saw sunsets or anything. I don't know. I think it's a much tighter timeline than you're giving it credit for. What modern figure would you think could work as X-Kaiser? Just the base car, not the combined trailer. I don't know X-Kaiser's design offhand. I do know that a lot of those Brave cars tend to resemble Cybertron Hotshot's design, and we did just get the official announcement that a Cybertron Hotshot is on the way. I'm super excited about that. So that's probably going to be your best bet. If I'm remembering right, I genuinely don't know at this point. Do you think in the third Sonic movie they'll keep Shadow's backstory from the games Maria and Gun, or do you think they'll change it for the movies? I think the Maria part is definitely going to be in there. I don't know if they're going to have an organization literally named Gun in a family movie, but they'll probably have some equivalent. They'll work in Robotnik's like past, or like, you know, like forebears or something like that. But no, I think the Maria stuff has to be kept, because that's kind of the whole, that's the only reason why Shadow retains any kind of morality, is because of his time with Maria. So you got to include it. Oh, thank you for the love. This is nice. I'm happy to know I'm someone's comfort YouTuber. It's just nice. Can the blur cube from TFA be the thumbnail picture? It'd be funny, but really I picked the thumbnail picture based on what's most relevant to that video. So if I get a lot of combiner questions, which we have a lot of combiner questions in this one, then that's probably going to be the thumbnail. It's usually just whatever stands out to me the most while I'm filming. So unfortunately, Blur Cube is not standing out at the moment. We'll keep it in mind, though. You never know. See, as soon as I saw Legacy animated Prowl, I thought it was built to be remolded into Sideways. So, do you see that working? I think you're saying that and thinking that mostly because of the screen chest. There's a lot on there that doesn't make it work as Sideways. The wheels being in the legs, for one. The way that the arms are positioned, they can't have the missiles coming off as the motorcycle exhausts. That would have to be completely redone. Yeah, the biggest thing for me is, like, if you're going to do a new Sideways, he has to have some semblance of the head swapping gimmick. So I don't expect full minicons, you know, but, you know, maybe, you know, like, just maybe, like, okay, just a simple figure that can be the rider for the vehicle mode, and then just separate into the two heads without turning into individual minicons. I think that's as close as you're going to get. But yeah, that's the big thing for me with the animated Prowl, and why that wouldn't work, is it's all in the head. The head is like too iconic of Sideways. You can't do without it. And even if you just redid it with just his basic head, or his most well-known gray one, the way that mold is designed, it wouldn't really fit. Not those big antlers. Favorite song or character from both Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss? See. God, names escape me as soon as I try to think of it. For Has-Been, For Has-Been, it's probably Angel Dust. My girlfriend picks on me because Angel Dust is my favorite character in that show. And so no surprise, Poison would be the favorite song. Hell of a Boss, same kind of answer. Same kind of answer. It's Fizz, and it's 2 Minute Notice. Of course, Hell of a Boss doesn't have nearly as many songs to pick from, so that's a little bit easier. Will a Masterpiece G1 Megatron that turns into a tank be feasible, as many have problems with him due to gun laws? Let's see. This is not an answer. That's not an answer. Here's the thing. Masterpiece is marketed specifically to Japan, so you really don't need it. You don't need a Masterpiece G1 Megatron that turns into a tank, unless you're doing the Generation 2 Megatron, and I don't think there's a whole lot of demand for that. No. you wouldn't have problems because of gun laws, but you also really wouldn't find a market for it because Masterpiece is supposed to be perfect representations of the original G1 cast, which means you couldn't do Megatron as a tank. It's not feasible on a legal it's feasible for a legal stance, but on a sales stance, it's infeasible. Will Hasbro make Armada, Jetfire, and Overload, or keep Armada Prime naked? I'm just saying. I really don't know. Like, they made it backwards compatible with the original Overload, so... And Overload is not really a big character, so I'm not really sure if they're ever going to do that. I could see the Jetfire, but the engineering on that would be so complicated, especially to make it better than the original figure. You gotta remember, the original figure suffers a lot in order to be a pair of legs for Optimus. It's a rough one. It's a really rough one. So I wouldn't expect it. I really wouldn't expect it to happen at this point. Maybe if that Armada Prime gets another run and it's more easy to find, then you might get away with a Jetfire, but right now, I don't think it's quite feasible. Deke or Ruby Spears for Animation Studio? I usually like... I would say Deke offhand. I just remember that bumper from a lot of shows that I really liked. I don't remember the Ruby Spears nearly as much. Just offhand. Do you think a Transformers line where the alt modes combine aspects of an animal and a vehicle could work? So they had that concept, and it's not just the... And, Robert here pointed out Transtech. Even before that, they had a concept called Motor World, which was exactly what it sounds like. It was going to be an offshoot of G1 where the vehicles had animal aspects. And I really do like the design. I really think it's a cool way of shaking things up, especially if you can just like do like a quick little bit of engineering that makes them, able to turn into like a semblance of the animal. If you're a big dump truck that has buffalo parts to him, then all you really need to do is have 4 legs fold down and boom, he's a buffalo. Things like that. It could be a lot of fun. Do I think Shard is the closest the helicopter Waspinator will ever get? Probably. It's not something that really Hasbro is going to put a priority on, putting real-life, like, Earth vehicles to Beast Wars characters. Not something they're going to be interested in. There's really not a market for it that I could feasibly imagine. It would be a little bit more understanding if there was a cartoon series that kind of leaned into concepts like that. Animated could have gotten away with something like that. Not a collector's line. And Hasbro, I don't think shares the same brain rot as me, as helicopters make sense for Waspinator. Yeah, so it's probably the closest. It's just like, it's a green helicopter. It's as close as we're gonna get. But do you like plays or musicals like Hamilton, Wicked, etc.? So I guess what I'm really asking is if you are/were a theater kid. I'm not, unfortunately. I mean, I can sit and watch a play or a musical, but I'm not a fan of them. I don't follow them. I don't have a favorite one. I've never seen Hamilton. I know. Blasphemous. I like some of the songs from Hamilton, but that's about it. Yeah, and I was never really a theater kid. I mean, I didn't even get into drama class in high school until my senior year. So I didn't really have the opportunity to get that deep into it. Between the two, which would be better as a Titan-class figure? Powermaster, Optimus Prime, or Star Convoy? Star Convoy, canonically, is a gigantic character. I don't think either of them would make a good Titan. I think both, honestly, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I think both are terrible choices for Titan. Commander at the most. Both of these are great options for a Commander-class toy. But Titan? No. They're not even like half the size they need to be a Titan. I mean, if you had to, then yeah, Star Convoy, but then you have to pack in like Sky Gary and Grandis and everyone else that combines onto his vehicle into his base mode, in order to make it like a Titan level package, and no one would buy it because no one in America knows who Grandis is. Let's see. Do you get the bingo card idea from the Click? I was just curious if you might have been inspired by his channel in some way. I have no idea who the Click is. I will tell you that people have been coming up with joke bingo cards like that for literal decades. Whoever the Click is, they didn't create the idea either. Okay? So, no. It's just in my world, it's just an idea that's always been around. People who are deep in fandoms like us are so into our favorite series that it eventually leads to us learning about the stuff behind the curtain on said series, design work, business models, employee names, etc. Instead of just being content to, oh my god, truncate this. Has that inside knowledge ever affected your enjoyment of the things you love, like toys you collect or media you follow? I've never been one to really follow like the designers behind what I've been doing. I mean, once in a blue moon. If I find out, oh, he directed a game I really liked, yeah, I'll absolutely check out his new game. When it comes to toys, not really. I've never really latched on to any particular designer. Mostly because you don't really get to find out that easily who made the stuff that you're into. But unfortunately, whenever I get like behind the scenes stuff like that, usually it's a negative way. Like I grew up with Ren and Stimpy. It's really bad when you find out what the creator of that show is up to in his life. Or, I'm a wrestling fan. We're going to be talking about wrestling because it's part of a Patreon request for next week. Oh, we found out a whole bunch about Vince in the last year or so. So yeah, like usually when I find out something about the things that I love, it doesn't always turn out very well. With Superion, let's see, please mark your comments, please. These videos take too long as it is. Would I want a 2D animated Beast Wars Transformers series that takes place in modern time, focused on a new group of Maximals and Predacons? Not necessarily. I'm not sure exactly what you gain by setting Beast Wars in a modern setting, because why would they turn into animals if there's cars and jets? Like you could set it in a jungle, but then your human cast are like native tribes, and like the occasional explorer in the jungle. Like you'll have the nice explorer, a la Tarzan, and then you'll have, the poachers, the loggers, and everyone else who shows up to ruin these in Don Bluth movies. So, not really. Yeah, I mean, if anything, I'd like the thing that we kind of talked about previous to this, which is, exploring Maximal and Predacons characters when they don't have to turn into beasts, but that's probably not something Hasbro's ever going to do. How many sides would a Sideswipe swipe if a Sideswipe could swipe sides? Why are more than one of you picking up on tongue twister questions? The answer is none, because Sideswipe's not a jerk who would sideswipe something just for the sake of sideswiping it. He's a good guy, and probably picky about his paint job. Which human character from a past Transformers show or movie would make for a great guest character in Transformers Earthspark? I like the gag that Animated had where, like, Spike, Carly, and Daniel would just show up in the background of stuff. And then they just kind of, like, be there. Like, oh, hey, here's the familiar characters. Just thinking about the cast. I could see Miko coming back as a guest character and just causing absolute havoc. Because that's what Miko does. She causes problems. It'd be cool, like, well, Ghost is gone in Earthspark now. If there's another agency taking over, Fowler coming back would be really cool. Definite options. If G1 Optimus Prime and Megatron had Cyber Key gimmicks, what do you think their super move / gimmick would be? So, it'd probably just go in... I feel like it would tap into the stuff that they kind of already are known for. I feel like G1 Optimus, it would probably be the way you open his chest for the Matrix. Potentially, like, if it's Cybertron toy era, then yeah, with a light-up chest like he's blasting the Matrix. And then for Megatron, you'd probably augment the fusion cannon. Probably into... I mean, the toy, it would just be a missile launcher that popped out. But for, like, thematic's sake, probably a railgun? Something, you know, something that might be a little bit more precise and potentially more destructive than the fusion cannon. What was the most underrated figure from Legacy Evolution? In my opinion, it was either Needlenose or Core Swoop. I think a lot of those little Dinobots came out pretty good despite having to combine into something. It's a fun set to have. I mean, based on it peg warming, I would say Scar. Scar is a really nice little figure, but he's not a vintage Dinobot, so a lot of people didn't go for him. You are right, though, Swoop. Swoop's a little impressive for his size, and for the fact he has to also turn into an arm. He's a little bit impressive. And then you nailed it with Needlenose, too. That's a deceptively complex figure. Like, it looks very simple on paper, and ultimately it is a very simple figure, but it's got nice tricks to it that keep it from being dull. It's a nice little figure. Have you ever bought a Transformer, sold it, and bought it again? More than once. And there's quite a few from like Cybertron and Animated that I would still like to go back and buy again. Usually, when I want to go back and buy an old toy again, I will go for the repaint that I didn't get before, so I still get a little bit of new experience out of it. Like when I went back to get a Animated Bumblebee again, I got the Takara version, so mine is like the metallic gold instead of the flat yellow. Is it animation accurate? No. Does it give me a little bit of newness to my reclaimed toy? Absolutely. Right now, I'm currently kind of in the mood to get that 07 Nightwatch Optimus Prime, the leader one, because I do think it looks really cool, and I have kind of been in the mood for that weird 07 Prime mold. No. So the sealed ones on eBay are expensive. And all the loose ones on eBay are missing parts. Even the ones that mention that they are complete. You go and check. Oh no, you're missing parts. But yeah, that's usually how I handle it. It's very rare that I just go and straight up just buy the exact copy I missed with it. I always look for an upgrade. I go for an import instead, or I go for the repaint. What Cybertronian alt mode style do you prefer? Dreamwave War Within, War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron. I don't think it's necessarily a particular style. There's just some designs in each I like better than others. I will say, I do really like the War Within aesthetic overall. I do think it fits the theme back, a little bit more because, these Transformers didn't really have to disguise themselves because they were battling a war on Cybertron. So to have more warlike and heavy vehicles, that kind of makes more sense to me. What if Studio Series 86 Megatron is a modulator that had well-placed 5mm pegs and holes so you could disassemble and reassemble them into whatever alt mode you wanted? You're talking about doing a cheeky little thing to get a gun Megatron out. So if there was any indication that that was intended, yeah, someone would be knocking on Hasbro's door with a legal letter. For instance, you wouldn't be able to include a part that looks like a trigger. You would not be able to do that at all. You could technically get away with it. Like, on the package, it would have to show the intended use. Like, you'd have to show Megatron combined with somebody else in, like, the Weaponizer style armor form. Or you'd have to show an alternate configuration that is absolutely not, his traditional gun mode. If he's going to be an Earth tank, well, you can reconfigure him into, like, a more Cybertronian H tank. You'd have to, like, demonstrate that on the box. And then if you turn it into a gun shape, well, that's entirely on you. Let's see, I know you're not a Gundam fan. That's okay. What would you think about an adult-oriented Transformers series that included political intrigue and more graphic violence like in Gundam? You just described why I don't like Gundam. I don't like political intrigue in my giant robot shows. I like watching robots punch robots. This is why I'm a G Gundam guy. I don't want heavy political intrigue. I don't want that kind of nonsense, making the show way overcomplicated. You know? No. Like, you literally just added to Transformers the thing that turns me off from Gundam. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That ain't happening. Could Omazeo beat Unicron in an arm wrestling match? So, here's the thing. Omazeo is incredibly strong physically. You have to remember, he's still the size of a human, and Unicron is the size of a god. So, yeah. Not really going to be arm wrestling much. Not really going to be arm wrestling much. And here's the thing. Arm wrestling is really, if you ask a professional, because yes, that's a thing, it's not about strength. Strength helps, but it's really, there is technique to it. And a lot of times it's about leverage. And Omazeo's got a tiny little arm compared to Unicron. So that's a lot of leverage that he'd be giving up. Also, happy late birthday. See, considering they share similar DNA, if you could have a series that crossed over the Sentai and Magic Girl genres, what would make it appealing to you? I think you've just invented Sailor Moon. What you've invented is Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, like the live action Sailor Moon show, which didn't appeal to me, by the way, because it just, I don't know, the look of it, the aesthetic of it just didn't work for me. And this is coming from someone who grew up on Sailor Moon. I'm trying not to stop for water, but I absolutely had to. Yeah, you're basically talking about the exact same genre. The only difference really is that one is about girls, one tends to be about boys. One is animated, one is live action. There have been live action magical girl shows, like the live action Sailor Moon. There have been animated series that are styled like Sentai and Kamen Rider. That's, you're describing things that already exist. What would make them appealing to me is what makes those kind of shows appealing to me, no matter what the case is. Interesting aesthetic that hits the right spots for me, and what is the basic premise? And is the basic premise interesting to me? That's going to do it for me. That's what's going to make me interested. And it really doesn't matter, live action, animated, tokusatsu, whatever. It's always going to just boil down to, does it look interesting? Does it sound interesting? With the advent of Studio Series concept art figures, do you think you can extend to older concepts beyond the movies, such as the fire truck Rodimus, which Jay Decker has already said he didn't know existed, and they made up Duke Fire, so, or maybe even the animated concepts. That would mean we'd get a Marauder Megatron, which would make me cry tears of joy. But no, I think for Studio Series, right, because here's the thing. They could do things like that in the General Generations line without any issue whatsoever. They don't need to cram that into Studio Series. Like, Studio Series right now is heavily focused on studio stuff. So, movie studio, video game studio. No big surprise there. So, I don't really think they need to or want to go in that direction. I mean, in general, I just think it's cool when they go back and reuse concepts that got axed before. But they don't really need to do that in Studio Series. We could have Generations concept series. At that point, let's just not pretend that this is a movie line anymore. Let's just release all the stuff we didn't release before. Can you see Unicron turning good and going on an apology tour while holding Blaster over his head? No. No. Did you ask this question before? Because this is a familiar question now. No. No. Still can't. Still can't. About the newest TJTV episode, are you carrying over the episode numbering from the previous episode? If so, is every 10th episode still going to be about Transformers? Basically, no. Basically, what you saw was a complete reboot of TJTV. The humor style is the same, but it's toned way back. It's not clippy as much as it used to be. We're not doing the episode 1 rundown anymore. It's basically TJTV in concept and name only. It is a very different style. I'm not really going to pay attention to episode numbering for it. The next time I do one, I already know the show, by the way. I know which one we're talking about next. But no, I'm not going to worry about making every 10th episode about Transformers, especially now, because I have other ways of covering that. Any plans for Daily Video 1000? I'm still like 2.5 months off from that point. Yeah, April, May. I'm about 2 months off from that point. I don't want to think about it just yet. I mean, I got to make it good, right? I got to make it good, because that's a huge milestone to hit. We'll see. We'll see. I know I've got to make it good. I don't have anything in mind just yet. If someone asked you to explain the appeal of transforming robots, would you be able to explain it, or simply because it's awesome? That really just depends. It really just depends. Like, there's like how cool it is to watch something on screen go from a normal everyday object into this gigantic robot, and it seems like a real thing. That's already cool. In the world of toys, you know, transforming robots to me have always been like 3 toys in one. It's a cool action figure, it's a toy car, and it's a puzzle. You're getting so much more out of a Transformer than you would a standard action figure or a standard Hot Wheels car. That's the kind of stuff that really appeals to me. That's kind of where I explain the appeal. You know, it's not going to be for everybody, though. That doesn't work for everybody. See, when they do Nexus Prime, which combiner do you think they will redo his molds into? So, yeah, they're suggesting Fall of Cybertron Bruticus. I don't think they're going to go that route. I don't think they're going to go that route because Studio Series really isn't set up to do things like that. I think we're already seeing the blueprint for it because we know Generations Prime Year 1 is going to do the aerial bots, which we need 2 jets in order to do Nexus Prime. We also need a tank and a helicopter. So those are provided by doing Bruticus, which we are going to get a Bruticus because Year 1 of Prime includes Swindle, and it's not marked as animated Swindle, which means it's G1, which means Year 1, so it means the 2025 Commander is going to be Silverbolt, that works the same way as Motormaster from Metasaur. The next year, 2026, is going to be Onslaught, again, works the same way. And then for the last year of the Prime trilogy, the new Prime trilogy, then you're going to get Heatwave. And yes, his name is Heatwave, is the same as the Rescue Bot, which would be a retool of Onslaught, and that's how you make Nexus Prime. So, Year 1, they're going to get 2 of the molds out. Year 2, they're going to get the other 3 molds out, and then you're going to see the retools in order to make them into the Nexus Prime bots for Year 3. That's my prediction. Sorry, I had to adjust. Feet are falling asleep. What fantasy species do you wish was playable in D&D? So, the fun thing about D&D is that pretty much any fantasy species is on the table so long as A, you can make sensible rules, and B, your DM allows it. So really, as long as you got a cool DM, and as long as you're not breaking the game with the concept, yeah, you could technically play any fantasy species in Dungeons and Dragons, and there's already a ton accounted for. So, yeah, I'm not sure, I'm not sure specific examples that aren't already in the game, to be honest with you. Happy April Fool's Day, TJ. There's an April Fool's Day for you, because it's not on April Fool's Day, is it? What do you think of Oingo Boingo? Never listened to them. No idea who you're talking about. Apologies, I can't know everything. Why do you think it's taking so long to get Quickstrike to finish the first season cast? 1, Quickstrike is not first season. And 2, they might view him as too minor of a character to deal with for now. That said, he's the only... with Silverbolt coming out, he's the only non-transmetal character that hasn't been done yet for that line. It would be super weird for them to not do it. They previously talked about doing him at core. Don't do him at core. He's a little smaller than what a deluxe size would be. Do him at that scale. Let's see. Mark your comments, please. With the 2025 listing showing the next team seems to be the 13, have to ask, would you rather a Titan-class Liege Maximo that's inspired by his G2 design, or a Leader Voyager Class 1 based on his line IDW design? I don't want a Titan. I don't want one of the Primes to be Titans. They've got to... Sorry. My throat doesn't like these videos. I don't want to see any of them as a Titan. I think you're going to get something more along the lines of how they were drawn in the... Like, as I record this, we just saw the WonderCon reveals where the picture of Vector Prime they used was from the Covenant of Primus book. It wasn't the Cybertron version, and they didn't call him Cybertron Universe Vector Prime. So he's going to be like he's going to be his, like, basically his, like, demigod design, right? He's going to be the fancy looking version of Vector Prime. And I think you're going to see that aesthetic with all of them. So I don't think you're going to see either the G2 Liege Maximo or the IDW Liege Maximo. You're going to see the one that's in that particular book. And in that case, you're probably looking at most likely a Voyager. Yeah, none of them should be Titan. They should all look nice and be somewhat in scale with each other on a shelf. And they should just be this really cool set of 13 toys you put together over the course of 3 years. Nexus Maximus is the only one allowed to be big. Everyone else, no bigger than a liter. Oh, what is... Okay, why do you do this? Just... I appreciate the comments, but man, if you have a question, please. Or do your mysterious green M logo in the videos, but they say, hey, you deserve a treat. Would you rather want to see an original Luchador Transformer or a collaborative figure based on someone like The Undertaker, Kane, Penta, Zero, Mankind, El Santo, Blue Demon, etc.? You have described luchadors and not luchadors. But technically, if you include when he was injured, all of these are masked wrestlers at some point in their career. I mean, I really like the luchador aesthetic. I think a Transformer would be over the top as one. I think it'd be a cool little design, because they do like other cultures a lot. Like we've gotten ninja Transformers before. We've had a cowboy Transformer. Thank you, Wild Wheel. Yeah. I think at that point it's fair. That'd be cool. Also, you're throwing Yu-Gi-Oh pun names at me for these Transformers. Don't. I can't handle the pain anymore. What would you think of using the skeleton of the Combiner as a weaponizer to make another member of... What? What would you think of using the skeleton of the Combiner as a weaponizer to make a other member of the team? Okay, you mean like the armature, all that came with like Menasor? If all those parts could be cobbled together into a sixth Stunticon, I mean, I don't see how you'd give him a vehicle mode, but it wouldn't be a bad approach to it. We've got Silverbolt, who's probably going to be a Commander-class figure to go with those deluxe aerial bots. Would not surprise me if they did something like that with him. We'll see. We will see. Have you ever thought about playing an Incubus or Succubus in the next big D&D campaign, or would it be too weird for you? I feel like this is my friend Scarlett asking this. I've never thought about playing an Incubus or a Succubus. It would be weird. There's definitely going to be trust issues with that, not with the party, but also with the NPCs. I don't know. I don't really like I don't know. It's not the kind of race that I like to play as in D&D. It's just I have friends who love playing vampire races, but not me. So that's probably not my thing. And yeah, it'd just be weird. It'd be weird for me. It's not the way I'd like to roleplay. If they do a new Powermaster Optimus Prime, what price point do you think it would be? My money's on a commander and a separate God Bomber. See, there you go. See? There is your correct response to a modern Powermaster Optimus Prime. Absolutely, he would be a commander. You know, we've seen with Armada Optimus Prime. That's the perfect size. That is the perfect price point for an Optimus Prime that combines with this trailer. And we've got the proof that that can be a very, very good toy. So you know what? Correct, Matt. You got it right. Not a Titan. And yeah, God Bomber as a separate figure, like a Voyager later on. You know, that's probably where it all lies. That's probably what's going to work best. Oh man, we got a lot of D&D questions today. The last time Mirari's campaign left off, you mentioned that TJOmega is reunited with his family and the campaign is nearing its ultimate conclusion. How's the campaign going now? It's not. That campaign got cut short by COVID. And the doom of every Dungeons & Dragons game out there, scheduling conflicts. That's why I came up with the name. I named the show Scheduled Conflicts because that's such a common thing in D&D. So no, that campaign's not going. Mirari is currently level 17. He's almost dropped the bard gimmick completely. He's almost all druid now, and he's with his party trapped in Maladamini, one of the layers of hell. Basically right in front of the final encounter. But we broke apart but we couldn't get the gang back together to get the whole thing working. So unfortunately, that campaign is still without conclusion. Is collector's insurance worthwhile if I really want to protect my collection? I mean, if you have like genuinely valuable pieces, then potentially, yeah, that is entirely your call. If you live somewhere where something is more prone or potentially something could happen to your collection, say, you know, like an earthquake zone. You know, if you live in California where you are prone to like the occasional earthquake, a collection on display can be very vulnerable to such things. So yeah, in that situation, potentially. For most people, no, you do not do that. I don't think it's terribly necessary. But that's another, that's out of my realm of expertise, honestly. New mold? Yes. With how long these are taking, I feel like these would work as live streams. They kind of would, except I kind of film these when I have the chance. If I were to set these up as live streams, it would always have to be on the 1st of the month, right? Or like the 31st of the month. Well, sometimes the 1st or 31st falls on a work day. It falls on a day where I'm working the toy shop, so I would not be able to do a live stream of these. Also, when you're live streaming, the questions just keep going and the chat just keeps going. Also, not as many people are going to show up for a live stream as they do for the videos. Like my live streams, like I can get 100 viewers if I'm lucky. This video's got thousands of viewers. So a very big difference there. Also, this means you don't have to like set your appointment time to come and you don't have to arrange your schedule to be there live to ask the question. You know? I could just answer these questions live on video, but then like I'm already answering this. The live chat would have to go somewhere on screen too. you know? And then I would have to interact with the chat, which would mean this would actually take longer. And I can't do it. I'm not doing anything that's going to make this take any longer. No. So, this is about as concise as it can get. Do you think a mainline commander class Thunder Clash is a possibility? Or is it more likely we get a Machine Wars Optimus with Thunder Clash as some kind of exclusive? That's the tricky one. Thunder Clash really is a deep cut character from a toy that is not very well known. We would more likely get Machine Wars Optimus Prime, but it's not that's not a popular Optimus design. It's one of his worst designs, if we're being honest, because it doesn't look anything like Prime. And you could retool it to look more like Prime. It kind of takes away a little bit of the identity, though. So you're kind of doomed either way. You're going to make a product that is just not going to hit well, no matter how you do it. It'd be cool to see a Thunder Clash, but not Commander. Not Commander with the whole trailer and everything. I don't think that's viable. I think the character's just way too deep of a cut to attempt. You're probably better off just making him just the truck section and just make him a Voyager. That's probably how that would go. I mean, I could see a main line having Thunder Clash as just a Voyager toy, or even a Leader class toy. It would probably be redone into, you know, an Energon Rodimus, a weird take on Optimus at some point in its life. But you're not going to get the whole trailer, the big tower comment. You're not going to get that. You're most likely not going to get that. Let's see. In a previous video, I asked about a crossover of Mask and Transformers, but I didn't mean in toy-wise. I meant in cartoon episodes. Would that be cool? So, potentially, yeah. I don't know if Venom or the Decepticons would ever get along. I feel like that's a lot of infighting waiting to happen. Also, no Decepticon is going to let a human drive them, which is another aspect. You'd have to reinvent the story a little bit. You'd have to reinvent how that works a little bit in order to make sense of the villain side of things. I mean, it would be cool in that, like, the Autobots would be getting human partners from the Mask team. Or, you know, we would have well-known humans from Transformers becoming Mask characters. So you do have potentials there. Possibly. But I think the show, honestly, if that was done as a cartoon, I think that would just be a little too character crowded. Because you think of how many characters are in Mask as it is. Now there's twice as many because all the vehicles are characters too. So I think you'd be bogged down. Like, this would be cool, but you'd have to do it from the ground up as something very different. What's a turn of phrase that you want them to use as a Transformer name? I don't really have one in mind. I don't know. I don't know offhand. Like, I don't keep, like, turns of phrases, on the tip of my tongue or anything. Offhand, I can't actually think of any, unfortunately. So I'm sorry if that doesn't really, I'm sorry if that doesn't really work. Also, I don't really do this on comics, but no, this is not Toho playing. The Godzilla Power Ranger comic is not Toho playing ball with Hasbro. That is called two different companies licensed those properties to the same comic book company, and they did a crossover. That's not them playing ball with each other. Let's see. Favorite Star Wars character? Jeez. Okay. If we're talking about just, like, established stuff, then probably Luke Skywalker. I know, like, oh, yeah, just root for the big hero. Yes, but I kind of like it, too, in that situation. In that story. If we're talking any Star Wars iteration, Dash Rendar. There's a pull from you. Shadows of the Empire. I thought it was really cool back in the day that when there were no Star Wars movies, they did this whole media push with their own stuff. Here's a book. Here's a toy line. Here's a video game. It's a very fun video game as well, by the way. So yeah, I really liked Dash. Do you think Beast Wars Icebird as an owlbear for a D&D/TF collaborative would work? Possibly, yeah. I mean, that'd be super clever. That would be super clever, actually. Okay, RuneScape hit something. RuneScape cooked something. Oof. So yeah, that would make perfect sense to do a new version of Icebird. You'd still have to come up with a new robot mode because ultimately it would still have to turn into a robot. So it'd be the first time Icebird got a robot mode. So that'd be kind of cool. Favorite Maverick by boss theme alone. Same as my favorite Maverick by design alone. Storm Eagle. That music of that stage is amazing. In general, I still think X1 had the most memorable theme music. You know, I mean, like, because, like, I've played all the X games multiple times. I can't tell you what Toxic Seahorse's music sounded like. I can't tell you, you know, like Slash Grizzly's theme music. Oh, I could absolutely tell, you know, like I could belt out, you know, a Storm Eagle. I absolutely could. I could, you know, or even like the other ones, either one of the other ones, like, you know, a Chill Penguin. Chill Penguins, I know, Spark Mandrill. Yeah, I love the music in that game. Now, do you think Starscream figure would work if it was a similar to Titan's Return, Blitzwing, Megatron, or Kingdom Cyclonus in engineering? Like the nose cone folds into that mold, or do you think other jet transfer could use similar nose cone transformation? It's definitely a potential. I think Cyclonus pulling that trick off definitely shows, you know, a little bit more capability. It's a little bit harder on Starscream because they do like to leave the canopy translucent to complete the look of the vehicle mode, which means with the added junk in there for the seats of the jet, there isn't as much space to work with. Now, if it's a solid color canopy and there isn't like a translucent element to it, then yeah, they could absolutely get away with that folding nose cone gimmick, because that is a really clever way of getting rid of it. Which Combiner Team member, or just Combiner Team in general, do you wish you had more screen time, love in the media? So, I could easily say the Technobots again, because it's still my favorite. It's still my favorite team, and they never get to do anything. He got to be in Combiner Wars for like 2 minutes, and then he got jobbed out. But I'm trying to think if there's a specific member or something where I kind of wish that they like got some kind of push or some kind of more like screen time or love in the media. Can we get someone to just fix poor Dead End? Because the boy is so pessimistic. The boy needs some hope and some love in his life. I want that. I want someone to try to fix Dead End. So I was wall mounting some Gow Ranger model kits. Wall mounting them? Oh, wall mounted shelves. Like, because it's Gow Ranger. I'm like taxidermy? It's like stuck their head on the wall? Have you ever had a toy shelf/display fail on you, and how tragic was the damage? Actually, no. Actually, no. So, I usually use just, like, standard bookshelves. I don't go for super cheap ones. Like, they are well made. And they're really in low traffic areas, so typically, like, nothing like that's ever really happened. I've had toys fall and break. Offhand, I can't remember any that were, like, deeply tragic. Like, oh no, that's gonna be so expensive to replace. That was a gift from an old girlfriend. Or, like, and again, I can't, nothing like that. Yeah, I mean, I've been lucky. Like, I'm pretty good at building a shelf or two. Like, even, like, the wall-mounted stuff you see over my shoulder. Yeah, I mean, that's never fallen on me. I've never had an accident like that. See, when and why in-universe could Aileron have gotten integrated wrist blasters if Camians all use melee weapons in that continuity? I mean, potentially anywhere. Like, once you side up with the Autobots or the Decepticons, I mean, you've got to be well armed for the fight. So that's, you could have, any time after Aileron officially decided to wear an Autobot badge, she could have absolutely gotten that weapon upgrade. Would a Shattered Glass show or movie be feasible? If so, what kind of animation style do you think it should have? 2D, 3D, hyper-realistic? I feel like Shattered Glass would work well, sort of over-the-top anime style, because the designs and characters are very different from the G1 incarnations. This is, again, one of those where I think story-wise you can make it work. Interest-wise, I think this would be dead on arrival. If it was feasible, if there was enough market to go, yeah, we're going to do like a little cartoon. Probably 3D animation. I'm just getting used to seeing Transformers in 3D animation now. I don't really see a reason to go back to 2D. Like, I feel like it works better in 3D. Question. It's April Fool's. Tomorrow it is. And Hasbro decides to announce a redeco or retool of a current/recent figure. The only caveat is said redeco or retool is extremely random, obscure, or otherwise unexpected, but still absolutely rocks. Well, what redeco would you pick? One of my favorite obscure ones is AoE straight from the original Beast Wars Pterosaur, blue and black balance. Yeah, that would be amusing, because there's a lot of like really weird, like random ones they've done over the years. What would be funny? You take all those characters from, like, the Unicron trilogy that were homaging those past characters, and you flip it around. You just say, like, okay, yeah, we're re-releasing 86 Hot Rod, but he's going to be done up like Armada Hotshot. Or, we're re-releasing, we're doing another run of 86 Cup, but we're coloring him to look like Cybertron Breakdown. Things like that would be goofy. Just to kind of bring back those, like, old G1, like, to flip the script. And now instead of the new character trying to be the G1 character, the G1 character has to be the new character. That would be funny. That would actually be funny. Who is your favorite Final Fantasy VII character? I'm going to be honest with you, I've lost a lot of love for Final Fantasy VII over the years. Don't give me anything about the remakes in the comments. I tried playing it. I didn't like it. It's not my style. It's not my style of RPG. I would probably say Yuffie. I would probably say, I mean, I kind of like the troublemaker character. But yeah, like, honestly, like my interest in that game, like, I played it when it was new. It was great at the time. As time has gone on, I've just looked less and less fondly at that game. Yeah, I'm a fan of other Final Fantasies. Ask me about 6 or 9 all day, and don't joke about that in the comments. I know what I said. Who do I like more on MST3K, Joel or Mike? I like Mike's style. Joel's a little bit too flat for me, and I know that's kind of the point of his delivery. I like Mike's energy better. I think Mike's funnier. What human characters would you like to see a toy line? Just generally any of them. Can we just, like, instead of doing, like, Transformers Red, which is useless, can we just get, like, an action figure line of, like, all, like, little Transformer characters that have never gotten anything? Like, for as much as those human casts are the focal point of those shows, and then they just never got any toy of their own. Like, sorry? I know she's not technically human, but sorry? Can we please get a toy of Sorry already? If they ever remake Ramulus, would a collaborative Skeletor be possible? I mean, that's kind of a clever way, but those horns are way too big to be Skeletor's Havoc staff. If you're gonna do a collaborative, I think you would be better coming up with, like, I think Skeletor would be better transforming into a actual He-Man vehicle. Because, the villains had vehicles in that show too, at least in the toy line. I think that'd be the better direction than than just, like, going for that ram head thing. Would you like a bowl of cereal, but with the milk, then the cereal, then the bowl, also made by Armada Hotshot? hurt you? A genuine concern at this point. Like, do you need help? Reply with the number 1 if you need help. Let's see, if you could have a reissue of any one Bakon set just randomly by Hasbro, which one would you want reissued? Dawn of Futures Past. I love the idea of the Beast Wars cast still in Cybertronian modes and like doing the story from before they all came to Earth. I like that story. I want, I want that to be done. I want that to be done again. I want enough of these like more futuristic figures that we're getting to be done to where like we can do like a run of like Cybertronian Beast Wars characters again and just do like a run of Dawn of Futures Past as like a capsule line. We're doing the pirates from like one of the worst Bakon sets. Why can't we just redo this concept with one of the best? That's all I'm asking. Let's see. Would you want the Axelon and Darkseid to turn into a Monkey and T-Rex respectively to pay homage to both Beast Wars, get what would probably be the closest to Godzilla vs. King Kong crossover we could get? Not necessarily. Because if we're being honest, you're really just repeating Metroplex versus Triptychon. And I don't think that's the vibe here. Honestly, I wouldn't want them to turn into animals entirely. Just like do what you've been doing with like the Ark and the Nemesis and just make them giant robots. You know, I kind of want to see what kind of robot you could come up with out of the dark side. Do you think that the Decepticons should have mini-bots or mini-vehicles? No need to shout. We're all friends here. It would be fair because they don't have that, but I feel like the Decepticons having such a strong like presence with the cassettes, much stronger than the Autobots. I always felt like that's how the balance worked. So like Autobots got throttle bots, so Decepticons got a couple battle chargers to kind of replicate that. The Autobots got Blaster and his 4 cassettes, but Soundwave continuously got a bunch. He's got like a dozen or so. I always felt like that was how the balance went. A couple mini-bots wouldn't be bad, though. Would you be doing a random review of HasLab Death Source? I own him, but love hearing your opinions on figures. Potentially. I try to steer away from big, complicated figures, but really he's just like a giant, normal Transformer, isn't he? It's why I haven't done Victory Saber, because there's so much to cover. Like, it just feels like I wouldn't have the time to really put it all together into one video. So, but with Death Source, yeah, that's actually a lot more feasible. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to do it, because if I do that, then people are just going to start crying out for the HasLab Star Saber review, which, as we pointed out, is going to be a lot. I wouldn't necessarily get around to it. So, I don't know. We're dealing with a kind of a slippery slope there. Do you think the Legacy Prime RC mold would work well for a Cybertron Ransack? By the way, the wheels end up on the robot mode. I can see it. All right. Potential... Potentially, maybe. I don't know if there has been a good motorcycle that can replicate the look of Ransack. I mean, especially, a lot of that comes into, like, how the shoulders are handled, because Ransack's kind of got some, like, actual shoulders on him. And the 2 ones we have recently, Prow and RC, they do not. They do not. So the silhouette is a little bit off. I don't know. I really don't know. I would like to see it because I like the design on Cybertron Ransack, but I feel like that's one that needs its own. And then you figure out other characters it can be turned into. Since we're getting back into the Bayverse, do you think we'll be getting the KSI Junk Heap, 3 bots that combine into one garbage truck in Studio Series? That might be a little bit much engineering-wise for Studio Series to tackle, so probably not. And again, that's one of those, it's just like such a deep, obscure cut, kind of like DevCon. DevCon's never getting a toy, guys. You can ease up now. But yeah, I don't necessarily think so. Is there a Transformer base that has not been used or a Decepticon base not been used for a new mold? We kind of just discussed it. You know, they haven't done anything with the Axelon or the Nemesis or the Dark Side. So you could potentially do that as well. You've been invited in the toy provider business. You've been in the toy provider business for going on 3 years now. So I'm wondering what would be your reaction to your toy store being asked to be a vendor at MetroCon with you as the booth runner. Number one, that's not how MetroCon works. They open up tables, you rent the tables. They do not invite anybody to have a table. Two, I would hate being the booth. They wouldn't ask me to be a booth runner because I'm always so busy with other things at MetroCon. They would not put that on me to be stuck in one spot the entire weekend. Yeah, my reaction would be shocked. But also, no thank you. Am I buying any of the Lego D&D stuff? I don't necessarily know if I'm going to go after, like, the minifigs because they're very, very random. You know, like, and they're not really hitting sweet spots for me. But I'm... Because the castle set is really cool. The castle set's really cool. And I really want the Mimic. But that's so expensive. That's so expensive. I mean, I don't even... Like, I bought the Sea Cow from the Lego movie, and even that wasn't as expensive as that whole dragon, castle, forest, all kind of set. See, if the GoBot Magmar played Pokemon, would his ace be a Magmar? I mean, no, because he'd be the rock-type leader. He wouldn't use... I don't think his ego would allow him to have something else named Magmar. I think he'd make it his mission in that game to take out every Magmar very viciously. You have a monkey paw and you wish to work in a Transformers team, but now you are in the preschool Transformer design. How do you make the most enjoyment in your position? Like, don't knock the preschool stuff, because, like, some of them have been actually kind of fun little fiddle toys. Like, I've got the Optimus Primal they did. Like, once Rescue Bots was done, they just started doing random characters. I've got that toy. It's a fun little figure. It's a fun little, like, desk figure when you just want someone to, like, flip around. Like, there's design challenge to that. So, yeah, like, potentially there's ways you could have fun with that. I'm still looking for the Gator Megatron. I never found the Gator Megatron, which is apparently just, like, stupidly rare for some reason. Question, video pitch. If the Transformers would start a band, what part of the band would they be playing? What you're describing is the Knights of Unicron. They did a San Diego Comic-Con set based on that. So it's absolutely up there. But again, this is one of those questions where I'd really have to sit and think about this. And I'm not musically inclined, so I don't know why the bass guitar exists. So you know what? No. You know what? No. What character got a name drop just to reuse the license, not really homaging the previous character, uses the name better than or just as good as the original? I just did a whole video about this. I didn't even realize this was a question on the list. No, I just did a whole video where we kind of went over all of all the name dumps that outshine their original character. So, no, there's plenty out there. There's a ton of them out there. We went over a lot of them. But yeah, I think the biggest one is Blackout. I think Blackout, just like Barricade. Someone told me Barricade is an old G1 name as well, and that would also really count. Whew. See, if you don't mind me asking, did you back any number of HasLab Omega Prime? I got one. Generally because I can't throw around the kind of cash it takes to do the smart thing, which is to buy two and then sell off the other one for, like, the upcharged market value and make the money back on the one you're keeping. I don't get around to that. And specifically in this case, we have to wait over a year to get our Omega Primes. So I didn't want to be out $250 for that long. So I only have the one. See, not sure if anyone's asked this, but do you have a favorite out of all the Diaclone repaint characters? Mine is Road Rage. Not especially. So, I generally I find some of the Diaclone repaints kind of dull compared to the ones we actually got. You know, but like if we're talking about like any of the Diaclone based characters, probably Exhaust. I kind of like how they've twisted his real world controversies into his character design and character personality. It's kind of funny. Let's see, did you know that in terms of old combiner functionality, Rail Racer is the most functional combiner next to Computron? Is he? Old combiner functionality, Rail Racer is the most functional combiner next to Computron. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. I mean, I genuinely do not understand. I genuinely do not understand the point you're trying to make. I apologize. It's completely lost on me here. I don't see how those two equate. Yeah, I apologize. I'm lost. I'm genuinely lost there. If you have the G1 Robot Masters and HasLab Star Saber, but what are your thoughts on the Masterpiece one? If you even have it. Of course I have it. It's over there. When I got it, I was absolutely in love with it, but now as I have more Masterpiece in my life and I have more comparisons, it really just feels like a very simple figure. Not that you have to do a lot with Star Saber, because he really is just like designed right off of his toy for the anime. Yeah, it's fun. It's not the first Star Saber I'd pick up, but it's fun enough. But if you compare it to other Masterpieces, okay, it does kind of lose out some things. What's your best guess as to why Kamen Rider Drive never made a cameo in Gaim's movie, nor in a special episode? He's the only Phase 2 primary writer to never make a cameo guest appearance to tease the show. Potentially actor availability. He might have just had another project that kept him from making that little cameo. It also, you're talking about Gaim. Gaim is a far more serious show. So I don't think they would have thrown in any weird little Easter egg for the next series like that. It didn't suit it. To have a cop randomly show up in the city, it would have felt too far off, I think. TFA Swindle is given a modern generation's figure. Would you prefer if he comes as a standard deluxe price with normal accessories, or higher price, he has extra weapons he can sell to other figures? That's a clever idea. But I do think I just want him to be a random deluxe. I genuinely don't like when they like put a figure that is obviously a smaller scale into a larger price point and then just bulk it out with accessories. I'm not a fan of that. I really do not like that. More likely, you would see, like, what you're thinking of like, Red Cog there. More than likely, you'd see a Weaponizer sold separately that you could break down into, like, things that you saw in Swindle's little shop in Animated. Should one of the animated Omega Sentinels be named Defiant after the DS9 ship? I mean, you can. I don't know. I don't think legally they could attempt that. If you could choose 3 TF Prime versions of characters to become new toys, who would it be? You have Cliffjumper, Predaking, and Arachnid. Arachnid is such a cool character. She deserves another take, because, yeah, we know what happened with her character. I never got a good hard shell. We had the little one, and that was about it. Honestly, here's the weird one. He wasn't even in the show. But I really like the Ironhide design they had in that series. You know, kind of this mix of G1 and movie a little bit. In particular, like the Commander version. Like that was just a cool looking character. I just kind of want that again. Do Beast Wars cosplayers count as furries? No, because they're cosplaying as robots who are cosplaying as furries. It's a technicality there. Okay, Robert. Okay, Robert commented before, but he didn't leave a question. That got confusing. Um, would you say that the 5 main iconic Autobots for the Decepticons? I feel it's fairly simple: Megatron, Starscream, Soundwave, Shockwave, and Devastator. For those Autobots, I feel like the 6 iconic characters don't know who to cut from the main 5. Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Jazz, Ratchet, Ironhide, Grimlock. I think at this point, honestly, out of that list, you'd probably cut Ironhide, unfortunately. If only because, like, if only because, like, when you're dealing with that list, one, you need to get out some of the redundancy, and 2, Ratchet's just been used a lot more than Ironhide has. You know, G1 Ironhide really hasn't come up in much since then, but Ratchet is your go-to medic in Transformers, and generally the story always needs a medic. So he ends up in Animated. He ends up in Prime. Like, he's a go-to necessary character. And we'll be honest, he's always had better stories. In like the Marvel comics, he had much better stories. So yeah, and the IDW ones for that matter too. Yeah, I think unfortunately I love Ironhide, but you'd have to cut him out of this group, I think. Let's see. Don't think you've said anything about it. So what are your thoughts on Boon Boomger? That's the new Sentai. That's the new Sentai. I'll be completely honest here. I think I've hated everything I've seen about it. I hate the suit design. I really hate the helmet design. I really hate. I hate the look of the mech. I don't like the tone. Yeah, like literally, absolutely nothing about it appeals to me whatsoever. Whatsoever. It's just a completely dead season to me. How likely do you think we'll get another Legacy Laser Prime as a proper RID Scourge? That's Scourge. I keep going back to the way I used to pronounce it. No, I don't know at this point because that mold is so overused. I think everyone's kind of tired of that one, even if you do a proper RID Scourge at some point. I'd like to see it, even if it's just an exclusive without the trailer. Just because of your first one, I don't know, like, the designer flat out said all he did was follow the normal pattern they do with Nemesis Primes, and, like, so you didn't look at the source material for how to deco RID Scourge. So that's literally a designer screwing up. Does it look good? Yes. Does it look right? No. I would like to see it again. I would like to see it, but man, rough one. Rough to do that mold yet again. Should Generation Selects reissue Studio Series figures, but with past recolors like Nightwatch, Optimus Prime to make sure you... I would love for them to do that. I would love for them to do that. Because there's people who had the repaint versions, you know, and that's their nostalgia that they deserve to have back. I would absolutely see that as maybe like a capsule line or an exclusive line. I don't think you do like Nightwatch Optimus Prime colors at normal retail. Yeah, but there's definitely room for it. And a lot of Studio Series figures don't really see repaints because, you know, they're sticking to what was on screen. So that's a great way of reusing some of those. Does the Matrix give the leader the Autobots and power besides the wisdom of the former leaders? It really depends on the fiction. It really depends on the fiction here. You know, like, movie Optimus Prime is just a really skilled warrior. Durability-wise, he takes just as much damage just as easily as everybody else. In the original show, it does upgrade your housing, so you do become stronger. You know, Galvatron's fusion cannon, you know, doesn't really phase Rodimus Prime after he transforms. But then again, when you look at, like, robots in the sky, you know, when you look at, like, a Cyberverse, the Matrix is literally the Kamehameha blast. You know, so it really just depends on the fiction you're going for. Since Takar Tomy did an MP scale combiner of Ride and another train bot combiner, I can't remember or nor to pronounce it. If Hasbro did, and the other train bot combiner, If Hasbro did a MPM Revenge of the Fallen Devastator, would it be an ambitious attempt at making the movie combiner at the masterpiece scale? Considering it would be absolutely gigantic, yes. Considering it is not the most popular incarnation of Devastator, yes. And also considering that Raiden didn't come out all that great. I know a lot of people who are upset with the final product they got for Raiden. I could absolutely understand them not going in for, a Devastator because of it. Yeah, I think they burned a few possibilities there. Please mark your comments. Modern Armada Demolisher. When? Hopefully soon, because that's a very good design that deserves another go. What are your thoughts on the Micromaster combiners from the Transformers universe? Which would be the G1 combiners the US didn't get until Universe. They're fun. They're fine. And I like how their combiner components could actually combine into like a vehicle for them. That actually is a pretty good use for it. Have you played Fire Emblem? No, because the idea of... Because the whole thing in Fire Emblem is that if a character dies, they're just dead. Like, there's no, like, magic bring them back to life. There's no Phoenix Downing. They're just gone. I know there's modern Fire Emblem games that don't do that, but even then, it's not my gameplay style. It's really not. Let's see, do you think Hasbro would do the other Transmetal 2s like Dinobot and Cheetor before the regular Transmetals? Potentially, because they don't really need to rely on the Transmetal funk gimmicks as much as the Transmetal 1s. It's not the chrome, because they just do metallic paint instead. The problem with Transmetal 1s is the alternate mode, that they all have some kind of vehicle mode, which means extra engineering at a price point that is already, like, struggling to pack engineering into... into its budget as it is. So, yeah, Dinobot and Cheetor, by the function of, like, not having other modes to contend with, far more likely. Which new Mega Man game needs to happen first? Mega Man 12 or Mega Man X9? X8 left off on a cliffhanger. We need an X9. X9 needs to happen first. I will probably be... God, I mean, I don't know if I'll ever see either. I'm losing hope. But I want X9 first. What's your favorite Gen 1 original Beast Wars figure? People gotta stop combining Gen 1 and Beast Wars as a thing. I know they share a timeline, but they are not the same thing. Don't mix the terms. It gets confusing. I'm going to assume you mean first year Beast Wars toy. In that case, I have a few. I like Man Terror. I like Snapper. That's just getting into the animals I happen to really like. If I can think, I'm trying to think of examples of just like, I just really like that toy in particular. Probably Tarantulas. I really like the Tarantulas mold as well. I'm trying to think of others. I will admit, I still haven't gone back and bought much Beast Wars. Ironically, most Beast Wars I've gone back to buy, I've left in card. They are unopened. So a lot of them have not really gotten to experience. If you could do a Transformers Cybertron intro-style roll call based on 84 and 85 Autobots, which 4 or 6 would you pick, since Bumblebee and Optimus probably pre-selected? I think you look above at what the top 6 Autobots are. So you probably would... I probably would make it, I probably would make it Jazz... I'd make it... here's the thing. I would make it Jazz. I'd make it Grimlock. I would make it Prowl. I'd probably use Prowl instead. And then, yeah, I would probably use Ironhide in that roll call. Just to kind of keep it to, like, the Autobots who actually roll out. See, have you ever played review Transformers Earth Wars game or app? Appreciate your thoughts. It's a tactical RPG. I don't like tactical RPGs. It's just not my style of game. I picked up Earth Wars for a little bit just to see what it was like. It's exactly what I thought it was like. I despised it. And I put it down immediately. What's the weirdest things happened at the toy store? I don't know if anything necessarily, like, super weird has happened. I haven't had anyone coming in being weird or acting weird. I think the weirdest thing is still the fact that a former VR trooper walked into the store like it was no big deal. That's about the most weird thing. Since every Transformers HasLab has gotten funded so far, are there any big characters you think wouldn't get funded as a HasLab? Oh, easily. Oh, easily. We mentioned Grandus, big character, not gonna get it. The thing is, Transformer fans are so ravenous, and we've kind of been tricked into demanding things that we technically don't want just because they've refused to release them before. That, yeah, that's kind of a factor, which means I think any Transformer HasLab is gonna work. I think any of them are gonna go well. I'm looking at how much time I still have and how long we've already been recording. I apologize for how long this has taken. I didn't think there were that many questions this time. Whew. Do you think it's a good idea for a Transformers 2-pack would be Armada Sideways with its minicons versus G1 Punch Counterpunch? Would you buy it? I mean, I see what you're doing there, but they'd be way, way better served being on their own. Because you're going to get people who don't know who Punch Counterpunch is. You're going to get people who don't care about Armada. They're going to avoid that pack because you cram these two in together because they are similar. You make them wave mates is what you do. You just make them wave mates so you can buy them at the same time and get that fun little interaction. Jack, no. Thank you for moving it to the question to its own thing, but oh my God, please don't do this. Please don't do this. Did you ask a question in all this? I don't even see it. I don't even see it. Or did I answer the question already? This is the Q&A video. This is not the video to pontificate like this. I appreciate all the info you're dropping on me. Please don't do that in this video of all videos. This takes too long as it is. I cannot stress enough. Keep it short. No matter what you're posting, keep it short. Please. It's already over an hour and a half long. Whew. Which Transformers movie between Age of Extinction and Rise of the Beast should have had a Linkin Park song? It'd be better fit in Age of Extinction. I think modern movies, you're better off avoiding some of the tropes of the Michael Bay ones. See, what's the one alt mode you would want to see for Optimus Prime in the future? So, weirdly enough, kind of a tank. Hear me out, because like one of my favorite ideas for like making like a new twist on Transformers is switching up ideologies, where the Autobots are the aggressive ones because they're trying to eliminate the Decepticons quickly, and the Decepticons are taking the more normal stuff to blend in and hide themselves amongst, on Earth. And then you get like interesting stuff like Bumblebee, a character named after an animal that flies, who could actually be a jet who flies. It's one of my favorite ideas I've ever come up with. And yeah, so that would require making Optimus Prime a tank. And then someday they can redo it as reverse Convoy, and everything can be right in the world. Why is Titan's Return Misfire so expensive? Last wave syndrome. Last waves are the least purchased of any of the waves by retailers. So a lot of times the rarest figure in a line tends to be in that last wave that a lot of stores never get in because they're overstocked on wave 2 and 3 that's not selling. So that's your reasoning. I can't stress enough. Pre-order as fast as possible. Don't try to wait for it to be in a store, because things like that happen. Are you excited for Boom Boomger? As stated before, no. Who are some of your favorite RID-15 Decepticons? I like their take on Chop Shop. That was super creepy, and I kind of want a toy of it. Filch, which is why I'm so happy that one was getting done. So, who else? I just really liked I really like the idea, like, of switching up the aesthetic of the Decepticons that one. I like Thunderhoof, too. I like Thunderhoof, too. Because I think it's a hilarious way of getting a tractor into Transformers. What are your thoughts on Mini-Plow Robo and how they stack up compared to DX Robo toys? So, it's cool that the Mini-Plows can actually make those old Sentai mechs with articulation and make them, like, equivalent to modern figures. I don't like how the plastic feels, and I hate the stickers. I absolutely hate Bandai's Mini-Plow stickers. I try to avoid model kits that are heavy on stickers in general, because I absolutely hate them. For me, I would just I would rather have the DX stuff. I'd rather have that big chunk, that's satisfying, like, chunk of putting parts together, and like the big heavy ratchets when you move arms and legs. That's what I want. That's what I want. Rare occasion, I want the articulation and desktop size, but usually I prefer the DX. Favorite live action Transformers movie? The Bumblebee movie. Best one there was. Easy. Which female Transformer deserves more recognition in the franchise? Probably Firestar, because we got a good amount of time with her in G1, as much as Chromia. We got to see her vehicle mode, which no toy has ever tried to replicate. You know? The reason we can't properly replicate her is because Marvel owns the name Firestar now. See, what if Hasbro? I'd come up with a list here. Do you want a list? Aileron, Lug, Nautica. You just want me to keep going on IDW girls? Because a lot of them. What if Hasbro made a live-action adaptation of one of the Transformers animated series, like the One Piece live-action? It'd be cool, but man, I don't think it would look very good because of how expensive the models and animation are. You know, like One Piece, you can get away with a lot with set and costume. You'd have to do heavy CGI for a Transformers live-action series. It wouldn't go over well. I don't think it would work. On what you said about Legacy Lockdown, why does it matter that Lockdown should be tall like animated Optimus and still somehow be deluxe instead of being a retool of Axle Grease? Personally, character identity. That's what it comes down to. That's part of Lockdown's character identity. Tall, lanky, it gives him this creepy aesthetic, which kind of works for the bounty hunter that collects parts. You know? When he's just, like, normal proportions, it doesn't look right. You know? It's like making a skinny Ironhide. Why would you make a skinny Ironhide? It doesn't work. It's not the character. With the release of Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, why don't we have Transformer collab figures with the Monsterverse? Probably because the licensor is very strict about who they work with. It'd be super cool to get a transforming Godzilla, but that means getting to play ball with a toy company that may or may not want to with Hasbro. If Transformers ever had a crossover with Final Fantasy series, what kind of Final Fantasy specific toys or beasts would you like would make good Transformer toys? Ironically, most airships would not. The Ragnarok from 8 would work because it's just a spaceship. The second version of High Wind that does away with the balloon would work. And you know they'd want to do Final Fantasy VII anything. As far as, like, beasts go, I think a behemoth, I think is your, like, go-to on that one. I think the one you're getting away from is, like, flipping the script on that. Making the, like, ruby and emerald weapons transform into things. There's your cool stuff. Feelings about Groove and Blast Off. I genuinely don't care about proportions when it comes to my G1 combiners. Is it funny that the motorcycle and the space shuttle are the same size? Yes. Does it really bother me? Not really. It's funny when they try to do modern versions and try to make sense of it, but other than that, it's just kind of amusing to me at this point. Let's see. Okay, fine. Okay, oh my god. Oh my god, what time? Where are we at? Oh, we're gonna be under 2 hours. Oh my god. All right, last question of this session. Can you think of any reason that Hasbro has not done anything else with Legacy Armada Starscream? Probably just not having space to work in the repaint yet. I think it's as simple as that. Is they've just had other priorities to release. I mean, obviously a Thundercracker, because he was in the show. Obviously a Sky Warp, and the retool for that would let him do Universe Ramjet as well. Yeah, there's plenty. There's plenty they could do. Why they haven't? I just think it's just not in the rotation as of yet, but I don't doubt we're going to see it at some point. And there we go. Oh my god, these things get longer and longer. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting more and more questions, or if it's because I'm just taking way too long to answer because I want to explain every answer I have. Ugh. Okay, so thank you everyone who left a question. I'm going to go drink a lot of water now. And yeah, again, just to wrap it up, if you want to ask me a question for the next Q&A video, please, only one question per person, quick answers only. I'm going to say quick comments only. Please don't give me a novel to read in the middle of a 2-hour video. Keep everything within TOS. Don't put any profanity in it. And yeah, mark your comments so we're not accidentally reading something that doesn't get answered. So, thank you everyone. I'm going to go lay down. I'm going to get the water first and then I'm going to lay down. I'm not going to do it at the same time. I will see you next time.